Thompson, who joined the C.I.A. And then on the first couple of days they were there, they gave them some computer training and said, this is the computers. You know, computers in those days, we're talking about 80s, they were, you know, really big things. And basically, he looked up his social security number, had his name and his photograph, and, you know, Tommy Groover Coleman, but by it had AKA Edward Michael Page. So he said, well, he called the person over who was doing the computer class and said, what's this? This isn't me. He said, well, it is. He said, well, who's that? You know, that's me, the photograph's me, that's my name, that's my number, but who's this Edward Michael Page? And they said, well, that's you as well. And they said, have you never been told? You know, all the other ones in the class, you know, knew that they'd gone to host family. He was in his 30s, and so anyway, they said, well, tomorrow someone will tell you what's happened to you. So the next day, he met someone who was going to be his mentor at the C.I.A. He was a hypnotherapist who advised them on a lot of things, called Dr. Giles Hamilton. He went in early because he was desperate to find out, you know, about his things, because at this point he'd still lost his memory from Vietnam, you see. So Giles took him to the cafe, and this is my favourite bit in the book actually. He sat him down, they had a cigarette each, a cup of coffee, and Giles was sort of, I think he was from Kentucky, sort of, and he said, I'm a straight talking kind of guy, so I'm going to tell you straight. And then he sort of waited to hear what he was going to say. He just said to him, you're not human.
Wow, what do you think about that? Did you have an inkling though?
Well, not really at that time. I think his first thought, he was married then, he was recently married, so he thought, what the hell am I going to go and tell my wife?
And he lost his memory in the war, hadn't he? So he didn't have any recall of his childhood.
No, he didn't. And then they explained to him that, you know, he was a baby that had been born, and mysterious circumstances, given a host family who had changed his name, and then his real name. And his birth mother was still alive, and he eventually tracked her down and had an emotional reunion with her.
And did she remember about him?
Oh, well,
how she conceived him?
Yeah, I mean, she was a waitress, and she'd been working late. She'd had a child before, I think 6 months before, and she'd had her ovaries taken out, and she had an abusive husband, and she'd moved out from living with him, and someone had given her or loaned her a house. She was living with it. She had about 3 or 4 children, and this little baby that she just had. And as soon as it was 6 months old, she went back to work as a waitress. And on the way back from work, she was tired and sat down on a park bench. And she had this dream that she'd been surrounded by a blue light, gone up into somewhere, and they said, "You're going to have a baby." And she thought, well, this is just a dream. When she woke up, she was just a dream, because I can't have any babies, because I haven't got any ovaries. But then, lo and behold, months later, that's exactly, she got pregnant. They couldn't understand why she was pregnant. And she gave birth to Eddie, a premature baby. Who immediately, after he was a few weeks old, someone came who were the Colemans, his host family, with a man in a suit. They paid the husband who was looking after the kids, some money, and took the baby away.
And that's Eddie.
Yeah, but he always knew that they weren't his real parents. He had an inkling, it wasn't a love of a normal father. He didn't do things with his
And he
son.
went to meet up with what we call Valiant Thor when he was a child with the rest of his brothers and sisters.
Yeah, well, he was born in 53 and Valiant Thor came down in 57, so he was 4 years old. And what had happened was that Eisenhower had meetings with extraterrestrials, 2 groups. Firstly, there was some Greys. Secondly, it was Pleiadians, who knew that he was talking to the Greys. So the Pleiadians said, basically, a party, our leader and a couple of others are going to come down, speak to you, 57. So they half knew it was going to happen, and half didn't think it would, but anyway, it did happen, and Thor came down, it was Valiant Thor, that's how he introduced himself anyway. And but his main purpose, although it was to speak to the leaders and present proposals and offer them certain technologies and medicinal breakthroughs, his main purpose was to check on the children, the 33. And he met with them several times. Eddie sort of met them in groups, and there's the photograph of the UFO meeting, as it's called, at Highbridge, New Jersey.
And he's got documentation from Eisenhower's personal library from some of this, hasn't he?
Yeah, what he did was he checked a lot of the stuff with his C.I.A. clearance. He sort of managed to see a lot of things that ordinary people couldn't see. And after he left, he did some research as well. I mean, the minutes of the meeting aren't there, but he's got a lot of details in the book. Who went to those meetings? You know, Catholic cardinals and God knows who else.
And why do you think the media have stayed away from Eddie's story and the C.I.A.? Why? What do you think?
Well, one, because again, it's in the book. When
Eddie
left the C.I.A.
pages on every newspaper on the planet.
Yeah, the C.I.A. were a bit caught, you see, because when Eddie was very closely monitored by the C.I.A. when he worked for them. They were kept all 33 of them.
They knew who he was, though, didn't they?
Yeah, they knew what all of them were. And they gave them projects to do and everything.
And this is what was called Project Aquarius, but it was called
Project Aquarius Zingo. Project Aquarius was an overall project, and Zingo was the starseed unit inside it.
And they were being overshadowed and puppeteered by the Vatican, who knew where these kids were and who
Kind
they were.
of. The Vatican were involved. It was actually
ex-president as well.
Gerald Ford was in charge of Zingo, and then he reported just to the president. At that time was Carter and Reagan.
That's what he did to Star Wars.
Yeah, well, it was later. It was the STI. Yeah, they did the Star Wars.
And then they used a lot. I know from Black Projects, they went underground and started Majestic 12, and they started doing all the Black off-book projects, Black Projects of Area 51, and the secret space programs come from what they got from the Greys and the Pelagians, and they've never released it to the public.
Yeah, well, I don't think they got very much from anyone actually. In the end. I think they tried to find out.
But didn't they milk these 33 children when they were younger, and when they were older and recruited for every bit of it? They put them under hypnoaggression to get as much information on technology and stuff like that. That's what I would do if I was in charge.
They didn't give them anything on technology.
What did they give
told them how they travelled using wormholes and things like that.
That's not.
They told them roughly how the craft worked, but that
I mean, I being a star.
It's like me telling you a car works with an engine, right? But you don't know how to do the engine, so it didn't really matter. They helped them with the STI and they helped them with HARP, but at that point they realised that every time they helped them, they tried to use it just for weapons, you know. So they didn't, and that's when Eddie left. He went on the run. You see, Eddie, they were all kept in such a derogatory way by the CIA. It was called the farm where they were kept. A farm, like an animal.
Nice, isn't it?
Right? Yeah.
Like a zoo.
And they all had a handler. So wherever Eddie went, he had a handler. The handler, when he got up in the morning and his house was on the Langley, he'd drive from his house, and his handler would drive behind him just to the office, right? And the handler would be where Eddie was. He'd be in an office or whatever. The handler would be outside. If Eddie went to the toilet, the handler would go to the toilet, stand outside, everything like that. Yeah. But in the end, Eddie had enough, and he thought, they're never going to disclose what we're doing here to the public, which was part of the agreement. So he thought, I've had enough now, and I'm going to leave. But it was very dangerous for him to leave. So he managed to get his wife, who just had a baby, said she's going to visit her parents, so she was out of the way. And then Eddie gave his handler the slip and fled. And they were trying to hunt him down. But the trouble was that normally when you hunt someone down, right, you put their picture everywhere, don't you? Yeah. And everyone is looking for them. But of course, in these days, in the early 90s, there wasn't all the cameras everywhere. It wasn't like Jason Bourne movie.
Yeah.
Plus, they couldn't say why they were looking for him because, you know, Eddie in a way wanted to go to the media. So that for the media to start putting his face and them to turn up somewhere and say, by the way, I'll give you an interview. You found me. I'll give you an interview. That was the last thing the CIA wanted. So they were looking for him and watching the wife and everything. They didn't find him. And in the end, he kept in contact with Giles and they met up. And Giles said, we'll allow you to disclose certain things, but you've got to do it how we do it. It's like a halfway stage.
Yeah, drip,
We're
drip.
going to give you a cover story. The cover story, parts of it were very wrong. And Eddie had to say this cover story. And the reason he said it was wrong was about Vietnam, right? Why he was there and how he was doing this thing, which was a ludicrous story that was going to assassinate the premier or prime minister or something of North Vietnam, is that the CIA, although they allowed him to say the accurate bit about how he was killed and then found again or whatever, they could always discredit it by saying, well, look,
You
the
said
first
this,
bit is
yeah.
rubbish, isn't it? We all know it's rubbish.
Yeah. Well,
So the second bit, which
that's
is
what
even
they
more
do
ludicrous
these
than the
days,
first
everybody,
bit,
isn't
is
it?
rubbish too.
Yeah.
So, but he went ahead and did this. We thought, at least I'm telling him half the story. The interesting bit is true, and the least interesting bit isn't true. But who cares? You know, they're only going to be interested in the fact that I was killed, and I was brought back to life. You know, they
Like
killed
aliens,
me.
yeah.
Yeah, by aliens in a sort of liquid life bath sort of thing.
Yeah. No,
So that's the interesting bit. So they allowed him to say that, but they always had this cut-off point. They can say, look, it's obviously rubbish because, look, he said he would assassinate someone. That mission never took place, you know. So the rest of it's rubbish too. That's how they work, the CIA. But anyway, he then did a couple of UFO conferences and talks and said a bit about who his father was, it was Thor, and then he'd had enough, really. You know, his marriage, his wife got cancer, and he just wanted a quiet life, working out what was going to happen, what was his purpose, what was going to happen in general. And then just recently, 2 years ago now, he thought it's starting to happen, and I want to make the public aware of it. But what I don't want to be is sort of, having to do a 1 hour talk. I can't do that. You can't get everything in 1 hour. I don't, people asking or deflecting questions. I want to just put it down as I want it to be, and then put it out to the public. And then if they're interested, fine. If they're not
That's where
interested,
you came in.
and that's how I came in.
Yeah.
But Thor is very interesting because one of the things that when I was doing that chapter several chapters, which was Thor, his brother, who was called Commander Don, double N, and the female, blonde, who people called Jill, but was really called Anna Mania.
Nice name, Anna.
It is, yeah. And she was very sweet, and she met him as a child. She went to his house and everything. It's a great bit of the book, really. But what they were here for was to look at those children. They asking them, "Are you happy with your host family? Is everything okay? All this sort of thing." They also took them up from the ship from time to time, but he wanted to come down to Earth and see them. That's the real reason why I was here, and also the other reason why I was here was to make that offer to the human race. We can sort out various medical things, but your policy of war, you've now got the atomic bomb, you've used it, you've seen how devastating it is, you must not
This
do that.
reminds me of the ending of Real Men with James Belushi, where the CIA have to give the aliens a glass of water and they've got to choose the good package or the bad packages, and the good package is all the birds, all the bees, all the people, everything's healed, or the bad package is the big bomb. And they chose the big bomb, so they just drank the water and took off because they weren't ready for it. So is that story in that as well.
Yes, but the thing was,
and the CIA were clowns in that film.
The upshot was that Eisenhower said the trouble is our economy, based on oil and making weapons and dominating other countries.
We have the technologies to fly ET home.
Well, I think they wanted the technology, but they didn't seem interested. And one of the things that Eddie says in the book is really sad. All the medical advantages, they're not interested.
Oh no, it's like, but it's
everyone dies.
You think it would be? All the people.
Yeah, I know, but they die as well. Politicians die as well.
Yeah.
So it's in their best interest.
But they're rich enough to buy the drugs of the
farmers. No, they still die. They still die after 80 years or whatever. They die. Well, you wouldn't have to.
But we know that we've got something up
there.
there.
Yeah, but don't you think it's bizarre that anyone that says that you offer, basically we can expand your life. No pain, no disease, nothing. Right? You can live for another God knows how many decades beyond your normal life expectancy. All we ask from you is you get rid of all the weapons that can cause massive destruction to the planet, and also, you know, don't pollute the planet with oil, right? And then you say to me, actually, no, because the economy is based on oil, and we do make quite a nice little earning, especially backhanders if we're top politicians from all the weaponry we sell. We're not interested in living another 50, 70, 100
mental,
years.
Isn't it?
I know, but the thing is, again, with Thor, as I was doing this, and there's the photographs of the three of them, I thought, they're incredibly good-looking people. I mean, the two of them look like Elvis, right? The two brothers.
I've seen the pictures.
And she looks like, you know, Marilyn Monroe.
She reminds me of the girl from The Vril who helped Hitler. She looks just like Maria, whatever her name was.
Yeah. But what I was thinking is, if these people, right, are not, as Eddie says, i.e. they just came down for 3 years and then disappeared, if we get enough publicity, people will be saying, that's my grandma, you know, Ethel, I don't know what she was doing in that photo, but that's her, and that's uncle, you know, granddad so-and-so, and that's so-and-so. No one's ever come forward, because the Thor story's been on the internet a long time, and said, we know who these people are. There's various people who've said silly things. I mean,
but he wrote
Dr. Frank
Strangers instead of the Pleiades.
That was Dr. Frank Strangers.
Yeah.
I mean, he claims he was Thor in one of the photographs, right? Dr. Frank Strangers, if you look him up on the internet, was a rather pig-looking man. You know, in his later years, he was a bit of a pig, to be honest. With a little nose.
If you met him,
funny is, no, he's dead now. He's dead.
No, I know, but you knew about the circles, don't you? Of the story he was trying to pull on that. He's like,
he was just trying to make money from his book, and he was trying to do a film. But what I'm saying to you, he claimed in one of the photographs, the image of Thor is him. Well, I mean, Christ almighty, you couldn't have chosen two. If you look at a picture of Dr. Frank Strangers when he was a young man, he was still an ugly pig, not as fat, but he was still an ugly pig of a man. And then from the side, his ears, you can tell there's nothing like
the
man in the
like
photo.
Fingerprints are unique to everybody.
Yeah. Well, it's just funny. What I'm saying is, it's funny that, you know, one of the few claims that, yes, I know who the person in that photograph was. It wasn't Valiant Thor, it was myself. It's so ludicrous, it's ridiculous. But so no one's come forward and said, these three are these people who are my, you know, grandfather.
Who else was in that group? There was a group photograph at the picnic.
Eddie was in the photograph.
Eddie was in the photograph. I know, but it wasn't. Where was that? Wasn't it?
It was Highbridge, New Jersey, which was actually Howard Minja's house, and he was the host father of Michael and Daniel, and it was in their backyard.
And when Michael and Daniel, they still with us? Or
yes.
They're home? Are they in America? And
America.
what do they think about Eddie's book? Are they supportive?
Oh yeah, Eddie wouldn't have done it without them. He wouldn't have done it.
Obviously, given this interview, we've obviously been given the green light for this interview because obviously I know Eddie on Facebook with his other name.
Yeah.
So we've had ships recently. So yeah,
Have you?
I have.
Yeah, but the point I was going to go back to.
And is their dad coming back? Is Valiant Thor coming back? Because he said he'd come back.
He will be in 2028.
And they're expecting him, aren't they?
Yeah.
2028 in his ships. And what's he going to do? Is he going to evacuate the planet of certain?
No, basically what's going to happen is Eddie is going to choose two human beings.
Who's that going to interfere?
Yeah, he's going to choose two human beings, one of which is going to plead for the humanity to continue, and the other one's going to plead for a case. It's going to be that two little lawyers. Yeah, you and me. Well, I'll definitely plead for the case that humanity ceases.
Yeah, but I think they've got a chance to wake up. Even a monkey can learn how to play guitar with long enough training.
Yeah.
Unprogramming.
It's not really much use to people though, a monkey playing guitar, is it? It's better if the monkey could grow some food or cure a disease.
No, there's enough light workers and starseeds on the planet to help humanity. Once you got rid of the bad blood and the infection, that's, you know, I'd plead for humanity. I'd make a good case. Because that's why I was born here, to, you know, help with the planet, give it a chance, give it a fighting chance, because it's not the planet's fault if it's got fleas. Sometimes you stop your fleas biting by training the flea, and you put them in a glass case to train a flea, and they keep hitting the head on the lid, And eventually you can take the lid off and they can't jump anymore.
It'd be better if you took their teeth out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but like the most venomous spider in the world is a daddy longlegs from the UK.
Is it?
And it's no fangs. Now that's a cosmic joke.
I thought I saw one earlier.
No, but it's just like, this is what humanity needs. We need to be the daddy longlegs. It's the most venomous, poisonous spider on the planet, has no fangs. It's like vampire with false teeth. It's no teeth. So it can't, it's got the venom, but it can't infect anybody or bite them anymore. Humanity's DNA needs unlocking, and that's just my point of view.
Yeah.
And a lot of us here to help with that. Eddie's 33 are here to bring the message, and we're here to help with the message.
Yeah.
We make films. You're a script writer.
Yeah. Actually, one thing going back to Thor though, which is interesting, because you know, as I said, no one seems to. These three seem to have come here for 3 years, disappeared again. Right? No one's claimed they're their relation. So who were they, or did they exist at all? You know, really. And the person who, you know, I was puzzling about this for ages, and I was surprised that Laura Eisenhower, so Eisenhower's granddaughter,
I know who she is.
yeah, she said her father had talked about Thor, and he did exist, and that I found amazing.
So
Actually, because I wasn't expecting anyone. No one's ever said.
Next year, she's coming to Manchester.
Is she?
Yeah. I had a dream about her and told her she's coming to Manchester. She did. She's coming.
I mean, Phil Schneider, he said, you know, that his father met Thor and things like that, but then he said a whole load of things about Thor, which certainly weren't true.
Yeah, but Thor's not his real name, though, is it? That's just the name he gave the government, or what they're calling
I know, it's a funny name, wasn't
So
it?
what about the
That's
legends?
a really funny name, wasn't it? You
Yeah,
know, right,
I
it's
know.
Thor from, you know, Greek or
Odin.
whatever it is. Yeah.
But he's not saying he's
Actually,
Odin.
Thor, I
I
think
said
it's
he was,
Viking, isn't it? I can't
so I would
remember.
have said that he would have been going to who he says he is, that not Thor, he would have been Odin. It's like Anu and Enlil and Enki from Sumerian, because Eddie's studied quite a bit of Sumerian. I know a few friends who can speak ancient Sumerian, star language we call it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he speaks Sumerian, which is Palladian. So they've got that all wrong. Pleiades is...
He hasn't got that wrong. He
Numerous.
says that in the book. What he said was, when he was a small baby, he taught this language.
No, I did
His
too.
parents didn't understand.
I spoke
Right, so he stopped talking it. But when he went out in the spaceship, and they came and took him to check on him, they would all speak this language. When he met the 33 starseeds, when he was
They all
4,
speak it, but
they
I bet
all
they did
spoke that
telepathy
language.
as well.
But what he didn't realise until he went on when he was with the C.I.A, they sent him on a university course of archaeology, theology and astrophysics and just about everything else. When he went on a field trip...
He knew Sitchin, didn't he? He went on a field trip with Sitchin.
Yeah, he was his pupil, star pupil. They were very, very close. You know, you know, first thing he said to me was, "You must read these books, you know, by C.I.A." And you know, I haven't actually read them, so it's only a year ago I wrote the book, and I'm busy doing up this place and doing DIYing and stuff, borrowing things like that. But yeah, he was a real student of that. But what I was going to say was, when he went on the field trips, we started seeing Sumerian cuneiforms and things like that. And he met someone who could speak Sumerian, and he realised Sumerian was Palladian. That's why he could speak. Yeah. And that's why you could translate a lot of things, see things that other people couldn't, because they couldn't speak Sumerian as well as he could.
I'm dyslexic in this life, but I can't read star language and I can't read Sumerian. But being an artist and being dyslexic, I can read the pictures. The pictures tell a story as well. So it's like when I look at ancient Sumerian clay tablets, I can read it.
Right.
So I know the history of it, and I'm annoyed that they always leave the girl out of the story. And it's always the brothers. What about the sister? I'm just saying, they had a sister, Ishtar.
Yeah.
So Ishtar is named after Easter.
All right. Yeah.
So it's just like, I know all of that, because it's like a lot of us starseeds can go to look at things like that. We get our downloads, so we'll read the pictures, we'll get the true history that is mistranslated from people who think they can speak Sumerian or Palladian. I can speak Palladian or Lyran. It's like a dialect twist. It's like English and American, Lyran and Palladian. So it's slightly few words different, or pictures different. But I can go to Egypt. I can look at hieroglyphs and starseeds only need to go and touch the wall in a pyramid. We don't even need to read it, and we get the downloads from the stones, so we know the whole history.
Right.
So it's just like, yeah, there's a lot of us. That's why I know that he's speaking the truth, and when he's speaking, he's Sumerian, Palladian. I understand what he's saying.
Yeah. Well, it's Thor spoke to me. That was another funny bit in the book, a minor bit, but you know, it's not. I don't know. You have to have a good imagination. I've gone through everything in the detail he did. If you're just making it up, but what he said was when Thor came down to meet them, each child came up at the first meeting. I think there were about 15 of them there, because the other 15 lived in states that were a long way away. So although they all flew into bases and would meet regularly, you know, every year when they were small.
And they're all in the 60s now, aren't they? Or
Yeah.
they're all the same.
Except for
the
Michael and
twins.
Daniel, they're 70.
So the first
71 this
30,
year.
the first two are the same age as twins, and the 31 of them, they were all born on the same day in the same year, but
18
just in
January
different
53.
places.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
want
at
to
the
make
same
that
time.
clear.
That's all in
People
the book as
listening.
well.
They're all
The
the same
times they were
age.
born, yeah. Eddie was a third. But what I was going to say was Thor, he greeted every child. The child came up one at a time. They were there. The children were there with the host family.
Did he
So it
speak
wasn't Europe.
telepathic as well to them?
No, he spoke to them in Sumerian,
Right.
and that was the funny thing because then one of the children, you could see that one of the child was uneasy. You see, so I think it was Eddie actually. Again, it's a year ago since I wrote this sort of paragraph in the book. It was Eddie. I'm pretty sure. He said, "Why are you worried?" And he said, "I'm just worried because our parents are here and they don't understand what you're saying." And Thor goes, "Oh yes, you're right. We must speak English so they understand because because he was asked." But the thing was, that's sweet from a little child because he wanted the child. Yeah, but he wanted the child to tell him if there was a problem. So he was saying, "What do you think of your host family? They're treating you right." So he didn't really want the host family. But the child said, "Shouldn't we? You know, they're looking at, you know, they're wondering what we're saying. Shouldn't we be speaking so they can understand us?" And he goes, "Oh yes."
It's like being from
It was
different
just a nice
countries
little
being
bit.
really
I don't believe anyone would just make that up. Either we wouldn't have him
It's just
speaking
little
Sumerian to
things.
begin with,
Yeah.
or he wouldn't have that insight. Oh, the parents are looking a bit worried. Shouldn't we? They want, you know, they're here to understand about what we're here, who we are, and what we're
So
here
who
for.
is Eddie? Who's he been told he
Well,
is?
Eddie is the
In
third
the
son.
Vatican.
The third son, all right? And the Vatican, when they knew about the children coming, they said it's the third one that you have reason to worry about. He's the dangerous one. He's otherwise known
Because he's got
as,
truth.
well, his God-given name is Abil, and that means knowledge of God.
Knowledge
But
of
his
God.
other name, all right, his other name is Abaddon or Abadonius, which is the devil demon, the destroyer, the one who's
The
going to
destroyer
destroy
of
everything.
worlds, yeah.
Yes.
Like Callie,
Yeah.
the female destroyer of worlds
Really?
that even God could destroy.
Oh,
It took a
really?
female to bring God
What did she
down.
do? Throw a rolling pin around?
She just nagged and wouldn't
Nagged
shut
and
up
do it.
until he gave up and said, "Yeah, it's your world. Do what you want. It's in good hands."
Crikey. Well, a lot of women have learnt from her example.
Yeah, we are learning.
But no,
We play
Eddie,
the man's game, then we turn it round on them. It's like we can play chess better than you. We can just get you playing off against each other and watch and learn.
yeah, I've got great respect for them. I do actually say, I'll say this now, it's an interesting point. I think every politician in the world should be a woman.
Yeah.
Because they're
not the ones who pretend to be
they're
a man.
compassionate and caring, right? They are, because they nurture the young.
Yeah, but not Angela Merkel and Theresa
But I
May.
was going
They're
on,
too
I know I was going on
manly.
to talk about them, but that's the first
But
thing.
someone like me
Secondly,
would be good.
a woman is probably more careful with the housekeeping, or they were 30
They
years
want to
ago.
look after
Not
the
sure they
children,
are
make
now.
sure everybody's fed and everyone's
Yeah,
got a home,
that's
a hot
right.
meal in the stomach.
Exactly. That's the basic
Before
of
they even
everything.
think about money.
Yeah, but that's the first thing every politician should ensure, right? And the trouble is that the women who have become politicians, right, in particular the two you just mentioned, so Theresa May, Merkel, right, they try to become like men.
Instead of
Right?
being-
They wear trouser suits, but May doesn't because she thinks she's
Instead of
got
being
a
beautiful
good pair of legs.
ballast at the arm, like in
Yeah.
the old days.
But
when
they
it was
don't. They have to
matriarchal.
protect. They have to try to be men. Mentally, they have to try, and probably they've had to do that to get to where they are. But the trouble is, They don't
It
come
doesn't
across
work.
as caring and whatever. They're hard-faced crones, you know, bitches,
Yeah.
really, to be honest. I'm sure they weren't like
See,
that when they were younger.
the best person to be in charge of a country would be someone who's mother and nurturing but strong and knows to take no shit of men, but let men think they're in charge, but let the men know who's pulling the strings.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's a good leader. And
And
you
there wouldn't
create
be
more
wars.
leaders.
I don't think
you
there'd be
don't create
wars with women. I
followers.
honestly don't believe that they would try everything to avoid conflict and people coming back dead. They would
Yeah,
know
we
what it's
wouldn't have
like
it.
to lose a child
Yeah.
or whatever.
Exactly.
They just wouldn't do it. In the same way men are so
Matriarchal
reckless and stupid.
society we did have a matriarchal society on this planet in Lemurian times, and it was matriarchal. And then this infection happened with the Atlanteans and the Palladians, and all them bad dudes turned up from the Pallades blood side, the bad Anunnaki. And it went to, it sort of men took over, and women just sat back and go, okay, we'll let you do that, learn your lesson. When you finish, we'll come in, we'll clean house, we'll spring clean, we'll smack your bum, we'll send you to bed, put you on the North Stair, teach you a lesson. And when you come out your bedroom, when you've learnt your lesson, and that's how women deal with it. We teach kids to make the mistakes, and then we teach them how to sit with those mistakes and learn from those mistakes, and then they come back and go, all grown up, sorry mum, we fucked up
I
the
agree with
planet,
that.
sorry mum, we're going to try now and put it right.
I think women
And that's
are,
all
are
women
best.
want.
Women are best at persuading children or people gently to do something. Men don't. They have a
They do
very
brute
short,
force.
a short fuse, and they'll say,
And they're single-minded, they can't
do the washing up.
multitask.
And if you say no, I can't be bothered, then they pick you up by the bloody throat and lead you over to other things.
Some women, see, women like me, to teach my kids from experience how to wash up, I would take every knife, fork, cup, saucer out of the kitchen and put it in my bedroom, and I would leave them one knife, one fork, one spoon, one cup, one dish, one plate, and one pan, and I would leave it there, and I'd wash my own up, and if they wanted food they'd have to cook it themselves, and eventually they'd have to wash that dish.
No, I do.
That's the way to do it. You take things off people and give them one thing, and if they break it or lose it or fuck it up, then they go without, but the rest of the family's still got theirs because they've looked after it. And that is how women would teach mankind a lesson. We should be put in charge. The right women should be put in charge.
I agree.
The awake women should be put in charge of this planet. This planet is female. She's fucked off with being bitten by fleas.
No, you're right.
Fucked
I
off
do
with it.
agree with that.
Let men try and come up. Men come up with problems.
But you see,
they
that's
don't come
something
out
else.
with a solution.
But what I can guarantee in that is what you just said is never going to happen. There's never going to be a woman who will be a leader of one of the major countries, i.e. Russia, America, China, anywhere in Europe. Will be a woman who will be a woman like you've just said. She'll be another Merkel or a hard-faced.
But there are people. Yeah, but there are people. I could start.
I couldn't even tell you a candidate who's close.
I would put my hand up.
I know, but you know what I mean.
But you know,
who's a close
women,
candidate for being that? There's a political leader.
But this is 3D you're talking about. I'm talking about a conscious society that's woke
Well,
up.
I'm talking about now,
Well,
in Europe
just
now, in the world we live in.
Back in like Red Indian days, the Native Americans and tribal days, the elder of the village was the grandmother because she had the most life experience and she was the most sensible one, and she would make
Like
a decision. Make a decision for the good of the village. First, and if it helped everybody, they'd come to her because she had the wisdom, she'd had children, she's got grandchildren, she wants the, and they're all related. They want the best. But then men come along, let's go to war, instead of a woman say, get in that teepee, sweat it out, get stoned, and you're not coming out until you've sorted out your problems. You're not affecting the rest of the family. And that's what women do. There you go.
But can you name me any female politician who's like that stood for
These
any
days, no, because we've always shut up the ones that would come forward. Nefertiti.
We're going back a few thousand years.
I'm just giving Pocahontas. Let's think
but
of
she's
some
not.
good ones.
We know her.
Bodicea.
No, I know.
Joan of Arc.
Bodicea was like Theresa May, right?
But she
had
got
one.
there. She got in
no,
there.
Bodicea was obviously a tough bitch, right?
Yeah,
she
but
got
it's
head
like
of the
people like me.
C.I.A.
I'm very feminine. I can do the feminine things.
She won
but
one.
I can fight
She
with a
won
man.
one battle against the Romans, who then regrouped.
Yeah, one woman against an army. I got some
she had the rest of the tribe. But what I'm saying to you,
because they
she
supported
botched
her.
it up, and either was beheaded by the Romans who didn't know they were killing her, right?
But that's
or
that mentality.
she committed suicide. No, I'm just saying that's Theresa May. She's like that.
Yeah,
She was
but
all
that
acting tough. She won the
But
election.
she backed down.
She does more turns than a rattlesnake with diarrhea.
She's
that
chicken.
But what I'm saying is, she's won one battle, and now she's losing. Everything she does
Do you
now
know
is a
why
disaster.
this is? Because she grew invisible balls and woke up one day and realised she hasn't actually got any balls. You've got to grow real balls, even as a woman. But in the next generation that are here, you know, and women like me who are consciously awake, bringing up the next generation, we're creating more leaders, and we're teaching our kids behind the scenes how to live in a society where it's conscious living. You don't go kill animals willy-nilly for hunting, for sport. You know, you grow your crops, you do proper husbandry. And husbandry to me is to send your men out to the field, tire them out all day, so they fucking go to sleep and leave you alone. That's husbandry. And women invented it. Go out to the field, fuck off for the day. We invented football back in the Mayan days. What can we do to get rid of the men while we clean house on Saturday? Oh, let's create a blood sport. Instead of fighting with each other and go to the war, 12 of the best from your tribe, 12 of the best from your side. There's a knife, go kick the shit out of each other, and the one who beheads that one puts it through the neck. Your tribe went, end of story. It's a bit brutal, but it's the only way to get through to savages. That's what women did, and we've been shut up. I can fight, as you know, and it's like, you want to tell the story the first time you met me, because I'm trained by Marines. I was a security guard.
Yeah, I know. Well, the story is because
and it's Liara,
you came into my nightclub. I cut half out, didn't you? And you said you were sort of 90. Well, it must have been like 95, in the early days of it, wasn't it? And you said, oh, you could work on the door and everything. And I said, well, to be honest, you know, we don't have a lot of problems with girls.
Security,
and I wouldn't want to say
working on the door. Explain what working
security,
on the door is.
Well, it's a doorman, isn't it? You know, just keep an eye on people, and if they get too drunk, you know, try and take them to their car, or throw them out if there's a fight. If there's a fight, you can try and keep people safe. But you came in, you said, I'll be a female door person. And I said, well, I don't really like that idea, because to be honest, most of the trouble we have between men, I wouldn't want to say a girl trying to take a bottle off a man or whatever. I just wouldn't want a girl hurt. And you said, I'm very good at kickboxing, things like that. And the next thing I know, your foot is very close. Yeah. But the second time you did it, I did catch your foot, which would have thrown you know. So you, but I just didn't like the fact that I don't like women on the door. It's all very well, but you can't just stand there.
I have worked on the door. I work for Ibis Security with the drill sergeant from Dorset Marines, and they're like, the Marines in England are tough. Yeah. And he's like, the security I went with, Ibis Security, every single person were either doormen or Marines, serving Marines,
no,
and
sure
a serving drill sergeant.
You had the courage as well to
and
do
it. Was
it.
really good
I would have hated
that.
it. It's only had 3 doors.
But the thing is, what I'm saying is, the Marv, the drill sergeant from the Marines, who was my team leader in the security, he would send me into a fight with 20 drunken Scottish people and 20 drunken Scousers, lived from Liverpool, in a fight, and he'd say to the guys, you can't send a net in, and he'd go, no, watch this, and I would crawl into the middle of these 20 guys drunk and about to kill each other, and I'd just go, right, I'm going to pull your trousers down and smack your bum in front of all your friends, and you're going to buy me a drink. And they'd look at me with this security guard uniform on, and they'd think, she's either going to kick my ass and embarrass me in front of my friends, or she's quite sweet, I'll buy her a drink. And they'd all laugh. And I'd completely stop the situation, but that's a powerful woman who will stand in front of men who are fighting and say, I'm going to kick your ass, do you want to fight me? Or are you going to buy me a drink and shake hands? And given a choice of a man, he doesn't want to be shown up by a woman kicking his ass, and I'm trained, I can kick his ass. So, you know, this is why women who are warriors, like the Amazonians back in the past, were great leaders, and this is why we should be great leaders. I will stand and kick someone's ass, but I can argue, but I can be empathetic as well. Men can't do all 3. They choose a stance, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to argue with you, I'm going to beat the shit out of you, or whatever. Or they can be compassionate, they can't be both. At the same time, women can. I can scold my children and tell them off, but still love them at the same time. I know I'm doing it for the best. Men don't do that.
I think we're meant to